a guy who's like that is Paul Rosenberg. 'Cause Paul Rosenberg, that's my dog, and he's a very, very sincere friend.
What did you think of Paul Rosenberg recently on the Tony Yayo and Uncle Murda podcast, where he said there was a moment in time where 50 Cent was actually bigger than Eminem, and they were happy because 50 was their artist?
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of
You
the
agree with that? You
that's
agree
one of
that,
the
that
best
50 was
things,
bigger?
huh?
You agree that 50 was bigger than M at one point?
Yeah, but it's temporal. It's like
Right.
M didn't have nothing. They didn't have nothing out. I mean, let's do the real talk. We talked about that in the last interview. M had, that historic run. 99, he had Slim Shady LP. 2000, he had Marshall Mathers LP. Then 2001, he had the D12 album. Then 2002, he had the
Eminem Show and 8 Mile.
no, I don't think so. Yeah, well, did he have Eminem Show? Yeah, he did. He had Eminem Show 2002, and he had 8 Mile, right? And then you think about, and in 2003, M didn't have an album out, and he had 50 came out. And in 2004, he came out with Encore. And I'm doing this all free, so I don't have no tablet in front of me. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, you want that. I mean, let's get into the minutia of it. Frank Sinatra was the owner of Reprise Records, and Frank Sinatra loved for different artists on Reprise to come out and blow up. Big Daddy Kane was on Reprise Records. A&M stood for Herb Alford, and Herb Alford was a popular artist in the 70s. Herb Alford and Tijuana Black. Do you know A&M? Janet Jackson was on A&M. All type of big artists was on A&M. And what Herb Alford, that was his record company. He was a talented person, well, he's still alive, and he had an A&R, and he knew where he wanted his money to go in. And so as M and Paul being investors in Shady Records, they love for 50 to do crazy numbers. So that's a smart business, man.
What was that time period like, man, when you were seeing the whole Shady aftermath, G-Unit, like everything that was coming out was like gold?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I always tell people, and when people don't really understand, and I have to really adapt my life, I've led a life like Forrest Gump of just, man, it was times in my life where stuff was every week something was happening. And then I come from, my company was a promo company. So from the past, I had the Biggie, the Coolios. And I mean, so I made a transition of really kind of folding or taking my guerrilla marketing street promo company, and it went into hiatus. And then I started managing D12 with Rico Shelton. So the transition was wild. So it's like, going to the Lakers and, going to the Lakers and then getting traded to the Boston Celtics, so everything was really like working. So that was like it was like a movie. And when I use that's an old phrase term, and it's a often used term, but my life was like a movie, man. It was crazy, just different things. And oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah. And it's not like, oh yeah, and it's like not cap. I see some people, they be really, really, really capping. I almost have to I have to undervalue, because some people don't really listen. They couldn't really understand what I've been through. Like, say for instance, when I go on a date, like now I'm dating, like, when I sometimes every blue moon go on a date, I have to undervalue. I have to be like, yeah, I was with this, because I don't want to be like that. They couldn't imagine. They couldn't imagine. Really, they couldn't. Maybe they, maybe if a girl go on a date, she look up my Instagram page or, my Facebook page, but I have to
But it wouldn't do it justice, though. It wouldn't even do it justice.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm assuming that you probably don't want to come across as the guy talking about the touchdowns in high school and stuff like that,
Oh, yeah, I hate that. That is one of my pet peeves that likes to talk about his career guy. I hate that.
Right.
And I gotta say too, I know I do, I gotta say too, I ain't did a lot of guys say too on this one, so I gotta mix that in the fix. A guy who's like that is Paul Rosenberg. 'Cause Paul Rosenberg, that's my dog. And he's a very, very sincere friend.
Shout out to Paul, man.
Yeah, shout out to Paul Rosenberg. And when we get together, dude, it's like we talking about our health, because we're both, well, I'm not saying we spring chickens, but we both like talk about health. He talk about his kids, and we will talk about sports, and we talk about we can have hours conversations just about life. There's a couple other people that's like that. Some people, they'll call me like, I'll get a phone call like I was preparing for this interview and somebody will call like, hey, we got this, or hey, you got this connect, or hey, this, because that's part of my job now. I'm almost like an emeritus promo guy, and I'm like a connector of different things, but that just comes with the territory. And some of my friends, all they do know how to talk about is industry shit. Not no, they don't share funny memes and none of this stuff. So yeah, I'm anti just propping myself up. Now sometimes it comes out and I might have to give a parable or I might have to give some sage advice to a person. I remember I was on I don't know if you call it a date. I don't know if she called it a date, but it was one date I was on and I was really trying to like just be oppressive, like laid back. And she wanted to start a business and she needed some marketing advice. And it instantly turned into I had to take my music marketing brain. Cause honestly, man, entertainment marketing people, they have a different way of seeing the world. And that advertisers too, because my favorite show ever is Mad Men. And so we on this date and my switch came on and we went on this. So the date kind of ended and I was giving her advice on marketing and different things. And I still don't know if it was a date. I don't know. And then I text her like, hey, this, I think she texted me the next day and she was like, oh man, we started talking. I was like, look, I got to tell you, I apologize. You just turned something on me and my music industry head came on and I was giving you, I gave her a great fight. She's like, no, no, no. I love it. I love that. I was like, I apologize. Maybe I got to do a redate redo. But I hate that. Personally, I hate that because I could sit and just have a beer and just talk, and I will play down. Because part of my culture, well, not my part of my culture, but part of my hobbies, I smoke cigars. I'm not saying people should do that. But when I would go into some cigar lounge, it's almost like going to a barber shop. So when you go to a cigar lounge, you talk about news of the world, and then people are like, hey, what do you do? Man, sometimes I won't even say what I do. I don't because it's so crazy when that happens. And when a person who lived my life, they know it's like being a superhero. It's like an undercover Batman.
Yeah, I can only imagine because then all of a sudden, like you take up all the space in the room because like everybody's made, wait, what? And then they start asking you tons of questions and stuff, and then it becomes all about like, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you just want to be low key.
Yeah, man. Oh, another funny story. I'm not trying to like go long on it, but the doctor's office, because I've said in my past interviews, I had a very fucked up sick part of my life where I had heart failure, from just bad living the music industry. And so when I'm going into this doctor's office, I'm being very, 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 very humble. But I did have like rock and roll shirts. I had like a Led Zeppelin shirt on one time. And this nurse noticed this is when I was real, real sick and I had to go to the doctor's office constantly. Well, it was maybe like a year after that. And I used to wear rock shirts and she would discuss like, what do you know about Rolling Stones? Or what do you know about Led Zeppelin? The nurse did before the doctor got in there.
Well,
And
because
we
you
always
black?
just have it.
Because you black?
Maybe, but she was white, but we just would joke around. We would joke around. She was like, what do you know? Honestly, to be real with you, I look younger. That my age don't match my look. All right. So she'll be like, you too old. This is what she said. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to cap. But she'll be like, you look younger. But she looked at my chart. She's like, damn, you are age appropriate to know who Led Zeppelin, the Rolling Stones are, right? So me and her had this little brief. We would talk about rock. And ironically, I was in the Detroit Museum because this lady by the name of Jenny Risher, a wonderful she's probably one of the best photographers. She's probably one of the best. She's one of the best photographers. She's not in Michigan. She's an extreme good photographer. She did an exhibit called Decipher, where she did a exhibit about the history about Detroit music. And I was one of her subjects. I was one of her photo shoots. So for like 3 months or 6 months, my picture was in the Detroit Museum. And the Detroit Museum, of the world don't know, that is a renowned museum. That nurse I'm talking about, she was there. I guess she likes art. She seen my picture in the museum. So the next time I go to the doctor's office, she was like, I didn't know I was dealing with a fucking rock god. She just like, I didn't know. She was like, what the hell, Mark? I did not know that. I'm strolling along in the museum with my kids and I see your picture on the walls at a fucking museum. And so that's how
And she was like, no wonder he got heart problems.
Yeah. No. I can't go into that story, but yeah, I had to a certain degree, but she didn't say that, but yeah, she was like, damn, you lived a crazy life. And then she had she said, then it turns into when she see me again. Unfortunately, she's not at that. She went to another doctor's office, but then she wanted to know the news of the world about the music industry. And I just like to be like a Mark Hicks type of guy and just kick it,
Right. I would love to see you on the Tony Yayo and Uncle Murda podcast. I feel like you would have so much to talk to them about during that time period and everything.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
I think that would be dope, man.
Man, but
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just been really just building on. I'm building this atom bomb I've been diligently working on.
Up North Heat.
Yeah, with the Up North Heat thing, it's just being a founder, man. And I'll say this. I would say, and I'm not trying to jinx myself because I'm very superstitious, but I founded my Mark Hicks promotion company, and Proof was I almost want to say a co-founder because Proof, like he gave me the fuel to start my promote. He gave me the energy to be like, man, fuck that. You could be in the game. And so I founded my Mark Hicks promo company. I co-founded my Dirty Management company when we managed D12 with Rico Shelton. He was a co-founder with me when we founded Man. And we had like a lot of different, we managed D12, we managed Boss for a hot second. we did consulting work with Obi Trice with his brother Terry Wilson, who was a 100% manager, but we did some consulting work, management consulting work with Obi and Terry Wilson. So that was a good, and this is the third founding is Up North Heat. This will probably be my last at this go of founding, because when people know, and you know this too, and some of your subscribers and fans, when you say you're founding something, that's really taking an idea and making it work. And with with the whole Panda Chop platform, it's hard. Me and you, we talk offline. We interview. We sympathize with each other on. It's a tough goal, and launch this Up North Heat. People don't even know the role of what actually happens with that. That's a very tough. That is probably one of the toughest jobs of being a. It's really that's almost being God, like, if you will. That's really creating something from an idea. I don't know. You never told me how did you want to create Panda Top, but maybe you was walking down the street and, hey, I want to have my own platform. I want to have my own Panda Top. And going through that and buying your equipment and robbing Peter to pay Paul. And that's a very strenuous task. I commend anybody who takes that road.
Right, right.